Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super Fantify. This mega show where I talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and or science fiction genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about My Gift Level 9999 Unlimited Gacha, Season 1, Episode 10. Great episode, a lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. First and foremost, let's start off with kind of like a smaller part of the episode, and I completely forgot to talk about this last episode, that Ellie created like a fake version of Light so that they could go out as adventurers and still keep their reputation up. So Nimumu and Gold aren't participating. To be fair, they are part of that adventuring group, so they need to keep up appearances, so they're off with the fake Light. So I love that it's like Aoyuki's like got one of those like Cerberus dogs like out there attacking people, but they show up, and I love Nimumu was about to get serious, but Gold was like, hey, we need to keep up the masquerade, remember? And she's like, oh, right. And they're kind of chasing after it, and it's running away. And just, it's Light, Aoyuki, and Ellie all looking at this terrible performance. And Light's like, oh, did you tell them to do that? And she's like, no. Basically, she was like, that's them freestyling. I gave them parameters, and that's just them putting on that farce of a performance. But yeah, I guess like have people getting attacked, and you just coming to the rescue, and it just makes people go like, oh my God, you're so great. You help protect us. Also keeps people further away from the tower. I'm sure it works in multifaceted levels. So that ends up being a small part of the episode, kind of catching up with that. The main crux of the episode revolves around the fight. So we have, was it Nia and Kia, the twins? They go up against Mira and Ice Heat, and so obviously, Mira and Ice Heat are looking down upon him. Though Ice Heat is like, hey, we need to be more precautious. Like, I don't think we have to be worried about him, but you never know in the confines of battle. But, you know, they're most likely going to be dissatisfying opponents. But, you know, they do what they do. They're super speeding around using their wind cutter. I was trying to remember, there was a series I was reading that has someone using, like, I mean, I guess it makes sense, just wind cutter just being like a regular, like, gale of wind that's in, like, the form of, like, a sonic boom. But, like, oh God, what is it? Was it the Academy's Extras Guide? Or the Extras Guide to the Academy? I always butcher the series name. It's a webtoon series. Great isekai series I'm reading on webtoon. Either way, it just reminded me of that because like one of his spells essentially was like a wind cutter. Like, I'm sure it's just a basic enough like wind spell, but still it's just kind of funny. Either way, they're doing their thing. Mira and Ice Heat are dodging. But Sandler's like, oh, we're handling this pretty well. And then they send out like a massive barrage. Like, hey, we could keep this up for hours without breaking of a sweat. And they send out a barrage, and Ice Heat and Mira are dodging them. And then ultimately Mira gets her arm cut off. Well, she gets a knife thrown at her. She's stabbed. And in that moment, they cut off her arm. They're, haha, we did it. But then Mira's like, you idiots, look at your sword. There's no blood, right? And so it's like, look at this. And she picks up her arm, eats it, and then it grows back. She revealed, and then she rips off her head, and she says, oh, I'm a chimera. I made up like several different creatures. I'm like, ooh, that's interesting. So, which is so interesting considering like those like Cerberus-esque creatures are kind of very chimera-esque coded in a way. So it's just funny for her to be one. So for them to kind of, I think that's so fascinating, especially considering like, I wonder if like her card's backstory is more like she's supposed to be like an experiment or something. Like, is she a human fused with multiple creatures? I wonder if that's what that's supposed to be like. Because they're all like, all the cards are just like Light himself. They're all humans. I don't think other than like some of the summon cards, because we've seen Light, you know, summon things that aren't humans, but for the most part, like his main fighters and his maids and stuff are for the most part are all humans. They're just powerful and enhanced humans. But I wonder, does Mira technically count on a different case? And I just thought that was just kind of interesting to think about. But the moment they see Mira just even tossing her own head around, they're kind of acting scared, especially when they're like, you know, because Ice Heat is like, these guys are even more of a disappointment than I thought. Like, I thought they'd be something, but now I've gotten a better assessment of their powers. They're nothing. So they charge at him and attack. And it's like, you guys are so pathetic. We're done to pretenses. We don't even have to dodge your attacks anymore. We're just taking it head on. And they proceed to run away. And it becomes Ice Heat's turn. And she doesn't even use both sides of her power. She only uses the heat summoning. You know, I'm a sucker for that. Which I'm like, hey, is there code side called Shiva? Please, the Final Fantasy nerd in me would love it. Once again, I know Final Fantasy stuff is Final Fantasy the only franchises that uses Shiva? First and foremost, gender swapping Shiva like that, but using Shiva in the capacity of Ice. That feels like that's like a Square Enix has kind of got the like copyright on that, I'd assume. But I mean, I could be mistaken. I'm so curious to see like who is like what represents like the ice side of herself. But either way, she uses the fire and she sends out this wave and they try to put up an ice wall, but every time it instantly melts. And then we cut back to them and their faces burning. I'm like, oh, you poor bastards. It's the thing. I was thinking in an entire episode, if this was any other series, because I've seen quite a few series where the bad guys does some like disgusting, torturous stuff to someone, and you're just like, it makes you feel bad. Because these are our heroes, you're kind of like, yeah, these guys are getting what they deserve. I mean, the series sets it up to just show you how much of douchebags, like everything Kaito and the other guy, the Dark Elf, went through, you're like, yeah, we saw how much of massive pieces of crap they are, so we feel good about it. Same thing here. Kia and Nia in particular were just the very ones torturing humans, so it's like they're getting what they deserve, so you're kind of like them kind of being tortured too, and every time they're trying to fight back by putting up, all they can do is put up the ice wall, but every time they're doing it, it's melting more and more, and you just see their skin burning, and then they eventually get completely enveloped, and you're like, wow, did they get burned to a crisp? Luckily, they are alive. Turns out, I guess Ellie did some kind of maybe enhancement. Maybe because she's like, I guess maybe it did something. Maybe the teleportation spell had like kind of like, I wonder if it'd be like auto life. You know, if you're familiar with that spell in certain video games, like kind of reminds me, like saying that kind of makes me think of like the end of Final Fantasy X, where you can't die, you're just constantly being auto revived. Spoilers for the end of Final Fantasy X, but I'm during, you know, essentially the boss rush at the very end of the game, but I wonder if that's kind of what that is. Like, is that the enhancement Ellie made? And is it placed on them the moment they stepped in the teleporter? Or is this something where the tower makes it so that no one inside the confines of the tower can die? That they're supposed to live through it? Which begs the question about what Mira does to them. I'll get to that in a second. But it's like, or did she just like naturally like enhance them the moment they, I'm curious like how she got that enhancement through to them. But luckily they're still alive. And I love Ice Heat was like, oh my god, wait, they're still alive? And because for her, this was supposed to be a way to properly test their abilities, but it's like it was all meaningless. These guys were pathetic, and it's like, well, you know, at least, you know, we have a better idea if we ever, you know, can you imagine if we just kind of ran out there, try to take over the surface without like really testing our might? And it's like, okay, this gives us a good enough baseline to show us where our skills are in comparison. We severely outclass a lot of people, so. But it's like, oh, luckily they're alive because of Ellie's enhancements. And they're like, please, and they're begging, and Mira's like, oh, what about the humans who begged you for mercy? What'd you do? You laughed, you tortured, and you killed them, didn't you? And they're like, please, we're sorry. And it's like, oh, don't worry. Light gave me special job to basically torture you guys until like I break you after I get some information out of you, because they want to learn as much as they can about the queendom in general, because like that's kind of potentially their target in the fallout of all of this. So she like injects them with like the serpenting stuff from her, and then she gobbles them up, and we hear a crunch. Now whether they're dead, whether they're kind of stuck in that state while still alive, unclear. So that's where things stand on that front. Next up we had the guy, what was it, Sharpat, who's like super into like humans, running into, of course, Suzu, and he's like, oh my god, you're just my type, and she's like completely disgusted by him, but Locke is like, hey, this is Suzu, and he's like, hey, you should be my babe or whatever. And he's like, Locke is like, nah, you're not her type. And then she whispers, he's like, her type is, and literally goes off to describe Light. And then the two tussle a little bit because he like shoots an invisible cross arrow at her. She like deflects it and shoots at him, and that kind of, well, it turns into her running from him as he's firing off his bullets. He's like, oh, look at you. You're pretty capable, huh? And fires a barrage, think it's going to do something. But when she stands out okay, he's like, oh my God, you're so great. You're so amazing. And then he's like, oh my God, like, you should forget about, like, and then it says Light's name in quotes because it's like, right, didn't say Light's name with any sort of respect. And then went off to say, like, oh, he's a loser, this and that. And your moment, you're like, oh boy. As we saw last episode when the ladies got utterly pissed at the way even Jack referred to Light, you're like, oh boy. And in that moment she snaps, and Locke is like, yo, what the hell are you doing, my guy? Are you trying to get like severely crushed? And then Suzu pops off. She's just like, she's talking for herself now, saying die, 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 die over again. Once again, me with my video game references, it kind of reminded me of like if you've ever played Kingdom Hearts 2, there's a sequence at the end of it. Her shooting off in the air like that reminded me of it. Like the way her bullets looked in that moment, it kind of reminded me of like there's a bullet hell section that at the very end of like it's like the last like cinematic aspect of like the fight against spoilers Xemnas, and like spoilers again, like the Sora and Riku, like to me that reflect sequence is one of the dopest sequences in video game where you're just like tapping like PlayStation controller X and triangle, but you're like deflecting all these like bullets away from yourself, and it just because of the coloring and just shape of them, it just kind of reminded me of that bullet hell sequence. But yeah, she proceeds to like fire all those, and then they chase after him, and he's trying to shoot them away. But her bullets inflict status ailments, and I was like, oh, I love that, especially when he gets riddled with all the bullets and all those like little status screen, like be like, oh, confusion, this and this. I was like, wow, you poor bastard. And so when we catch back up with him, he's laying on the ground riddled with bullet holes, and Suzu's over there and she's just looking at him and she steps on his face. I thought she'd have a certain reaction. I thought maybe he'd try to have a perverted moment even in his state, but it's like, nah, he's too broken to have that perverted moment where he's like, oh my god, I'm looking up your skirt. It's actually Locke pointing it out. He's like, hey, you're supposed to keep him alive, also you're giving him a free show of your skirt. And then she gets bashful and turns around. Once again, it's so dark and effed up that you're having a levity type moment like that while that's happening. It's like after she crushed this guy and she's proceeding to stomp on his face, it's like, ooh, excuse me, and she's getting all bashful. That's so twisted with the cutesy musical cue as well. Like that's some dark stuff. But then like it's like I love that she tried to go over and Locke's like, don't try to heal him now. He's too broken to fight anymore. And she's starting to break down. And Locke's like, it's okay. I'm sure Light will oversee this little, overlook this like little discrepancy, this little issue here. So I think he's broken, but he's not dead. But it didn't seem like he was moving, but maybe he is dead. I don't know. And then finally, I figured that the fights were going to shape up the way they did. I was like, okay, so the other guy's got to go up against Jack, and Nazuna's got to go against Hardy, and that is the lineup. Makes the most sense. But yeah, Jack versus that guy who's super serious. And so it's like, yeah, he does his thing, and Jack's like, cool, I'm level 7,707. Like, if you don't, he's like, use your appraisal ability. Oh wait, you don't have that ability yet? He's like, I don't need it. I'll just kill you. That'll bring the truth about what your level is. And he attacks Jack, and Jack deflects his axe or his halberd, and he just keeps going. And Jack just one hand on his waist, the other one just like knocking away. I'm like, oh man, he's just playing with you. Like the others were toying around with their opponents, but at least they gave them some like, But like to be told is like, I was trying to think like, with the exception until Jack actually wins his fight. He doesn't actually move from that spot, does he? In retrospect, I'm like, I don't think he moves at all. I think he stays in that exact same spot the entire fight until he goes over to pick up Home Dude's body. But it's like, oh yeah, like in classic fighting thing, I'm a big fan of the thumping someone with just a finger flick. And it's like, cool. The guy's like, I'm going to pour my soul. Like he's burning through his own life force to like give himself strength. And he's like, burn my flesh and my soul. And the guy's like, all right, good. Come at me. Give me everything you've got. And proceeds to attack. And Jack, like, hardens his body. And at first, like, I was kind of getting, like, greed from Full Metal Alchemist, specifically the original series, because, like, I've not seen enough. I've seen tiny bits of Brotherhood, but I haven't seen enough concrete Brotherhood to see, like, a thing. But I'm sure, like, the homunculi still work similarly between Full Metal Alchemist and Alchemist FMA Brotherhood. But that was just the first day that immediately came on. But he's covered in all of that armor. Kind of gives me also the Grendel vibes from Trails through Daybreak. Haha! Didn't think I'd sneak in a Trails reference. Of course I would, because I'm a loser. Yeah, in one single punch, which I was almost expecting, like, is your fist going to go through his face? But I guess Jack was holding back a little bit. And so, yeah, it's like, okay, good. Oh, wait, are you dead? Oh, thank goodness, you're alive. Oh, Ellie and her spells. Oh, it worked out so good, so glorious. And now Jack's like, cool, I wonder did everyone else finish up their fights? And then we hard cut to what's going to be the next fight, and that's Nazuna versus Hardy. So this is going to be interesting to see how he fares. And especially Nazuna be like, I'm Nazuna, I'm the strongest. And we know Hardy has like his silence ability that we've kind of seen showcased twice. So how that's going to how Nazuna is going to fare against that. I'm sure she's going to be perfectly fine, but it's going to be our first time really getting to see her kind of go all out. So, I mean, we don't have to even worry. Like, the gap between everyone is obviously Hardy's the strongest of the knights, but like even the gap between him and Nazuna is extremely massive. Because isn't Hardy like maybe 3,000? Isn't his level? That still puts like a 6,999 level difference. But I want to say like, because I think the others are like, I think most of them are like 1,000 above, aren't they? Like low to mid thousands, maybe even higher thousands, I think, is what most of the White Knights were. Either way, we also have the Mikhail and Sasha of it all. And it's like, Ellie's like, oh, do you want to see what she's up to? No, no, no. I want to see her face when she comes here. Just when she opens the door, he's like so excited. And Ellie's obviously, I want to call her Ellie, sorry. Sasha has her weapon ready, whatever it is she got from her dad. There's a title I was seeing, I think it's like Gunyear. So I was wondering, I'm like, either that's related to Nazuna and Hardy's fight, or that might be related to the weapon that Sasha has. Because I'm like, isn't Gunyear, if I'm not mistaken, it's not like that's a spear in Norse mythology, isn't it? Okay, I looked it up just to confirm. It's Odin's spear. I was like, I thought that was the case. I knew it was a spear, but I thought it was Norse mythology. I wasn't sure. I didn't remember it being Odin's. I'm like, that does sound familiar. I don't know if, well, I was about to reference a series I probably shouldn't mention because it said Arthur is not a good person, so never mind. I don't know. I was about to reference something, and I think Odin has his Gunyear in that, but I was like, I could have sworn there's something more recent. I was like, Onmyo Kaiten Rebirth first might have been a more recent thing I've seen with Gunyear brought up. It's all a moot point. I don't know why I'm doing that, but it's like, I swear there's something super recent that had Gunyear in it. But either way, I'm curious to see if that ends up being the weapon that Sasha has, or like I said, if that's something Hardy and like maybe that's more specifically Nazuna, even though like not unless we find out her sword is actually a spear, but I'd assume more so like it's going to be like Sasha's secret weapon. But we'll see how it all shakes up and plays out. I'm excited to see where the next episode takes us. I believe that's also going to be like I said, I wasn't sure if like it's all going to conclude next episode or whether that's going to bleed into the episode after that. We'll have to wait and see, but. Really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.